while at the park, watching the sunset, painting light beings, light language, energy of the stars, I was introspecting on love. And while I was in deep thought, allowing my inner emotions to calm, to still and balance, I found this subtle inner knowing about love. And this is what I discovered in the calmness of my emotions. Love, platonic, romantic love, is very much about moving past fear and becoming more sincere. When we are with the right person, the fears we have are challenged. The ideas, the beliefs, the lifestyle, the goal of our life is challenged. This person invites in a perspective that expands our imagination and opens our life in new ways so that we can become more multi-talented. In order to become multi-talented, we must overcome fear. And a part of overcoming fear is about moving towards sincerity. In a lot of our relationships, we experience a lot of passion, conversation, experience good times, dating and living with each other, and even marriages. But the love that really brings us greater sincerity of ourselves is that love that is truly nourishing. And at the end of the day, love is nourishing. When we think of loving ourselves, what are we doing when we're loving ourselves? When we're reading a book, or taking a walk, or surfing, or creating art, music, we're loving ourselves. We're seeking to find that inner harmony. We're seeking to emotionally mature, to get wiser, to let go, right? To befriend ourselves. And when we really feel nourished by someone, that's when we really can befriend them, right? When we have the conflict, the trigger, the agitation, the fear, right? This person, me and myself, and I don't know, and that kind of confusion, that kind of haste, that kind of restlessness, right? That something feels unsettled, right? I'm a little bit unnerved. I don't really feel quite right. Like it doesn't quite fit properly. Right? The love I'm talking about, the fear is not it shows up in a relationship that creates all these sort of conflicts and triggers, and then you're agitated, and then you feel this and then that, and that kind of chaos, or that kind of restlessness, or that kind of trying to force, or trying to make it, or trying to right? Just thinking, overthinking, not quite feeling steady in your emotions, right? The love I'm talking about, the fear, is really the overcoming of fear in that partnership, is the sincerity that person brings to the partnership, or the sincerity they awaken within you, right? that overcoming fear is so peaceful, right? It's like writing a letter to your ex-partner, right? And this letter, when you read it out loud to yourself, right? Let's say you're in a ceremony and you're in a bonfire and you want to burn this letter that you wrote to your past partner that you were in a deep connection with. And you read it out loud and there's just this acceptance, right? It's like honest, so liberating, right? Reading it out loud, right? The sort of hostilities you've had towards your parents, right? Or towards a teacher or something in your childhood, or it could even be the hostilities or upsets or, these deep pains that were caused due to a past relationship. And when you read that letter out loud that you were inspired to write because of this person, you read it out loud and it's just so honest, right? In a way that it feels it's so vulnerable and a little bit, it seems like hurtful, but in a way where you're releasing the hurt, right? You're no longer wanting to hurt yourself. You're no longer wanting to feel hurt. You're wanting to feel accepting. You want to learn, right? And that's what sincerity, it does. It's like you want to learn. You want to learn about yourself, right? You want to learn about, we could say, our past, right? And where we've been and, the things we've done and the things that were done to us and all of that, right? The fears that we carry and the fears that create this inner dialogue or this overthinking mind that has us constantly second guessing, constant doubt. And in the face of love, it gives you this charisma, right? When you have the sincerity of love, that is true charisma. It's true charisma. To be able to write that letter and burn it in the fire, right? As you speak it to the full moon. To release and to let go. You want to create space for this person. Because this space of that person around you, right? That space you want to create in your environment or in your heart. Right? You want to put them there. Because the harmony, the sort of radiance that comes through you and this person is expansive. It's liberating. It's eye-opening. It's a little challenging, right? Because it asks of you to move in ways that maybe you're not comfortable with, right? To be more of who you are. And sometimes when we're asked to be more of who we are, to really come into the fullness of our creativity or our self-expression, we're a little bit, don't know about that, right? Right? Because in being more of ourselves, we have to really accept ourselves. Really. It's easy to hide. It's easy to hide in a partnership, easy to hide in society, easy to hide in away from what big energy really wants to come out of us, right? And that's the fear of many things, right? That has us holding back our love, holding back the yearning or the longing that we all have to be reunited with our tribe. And I use the word tribe because tribe is a very organic, very sincere, and very soulful word. Very soulful, very sincere. The tribe has your back. You are allies. You work together to build a community that is more creative than the last generation, than the previous generation. And I think in the love that I'm talking about, it's like the version you were, let's say, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. It's like with love, you get to experience the reinvention of yourself, either you're man or woman. You get to experience that challenge, right? We call that death and rebirth of a generation, where one generation becomes a new generation, and this new generation decides to be something totally different, or subtly different, or to take on a new perspective. And I think the tribe is very much what we feel when we're with that love. And lovemaking is an exploration of how we can be more of ourselves, how we can be more creative with our time on earth, how we can be more creative in the act of bonding, in the act of sexuality, in the act of sitting with each other, playing with each other, being playful. So in the moving through the fear, the breathing through it and releasing it, it's like we feel a lot more spacious, we feel a lot more clear, and we feel a lot more available to our feelings because of love. And I think we have many relationships where we don't feel that at all, right? We don't feel spacious. We don't feel like we can really be calm. Like we don't feel like we can really tap into our feelings, or there's a sort of disconnect with this person that causes a restlessness or this unsteadiness, or we just don't really feel available to them, or we're just not really available to ourselves because we know that we just aren't ready, right? We aren't ready to really be sincere with ourselves, and that's okay, right? That's okay. We all have this sort of curiosity with our feelings, but also this great hesitance and this great, like, I don't know if I really want to go the depths of this, because that means that I'm really going to have to accept myself, because the things I find in myself may not necessarily be what is comfortable for friends, for family, even for myself. But in accepting what is sincere, what is youthful, even childlike, even like just your stellar groove, right? Your stellar groove. We all have that stellar groove. We all have that funk, that wit, that sort of edginess that makes us quite a little indifferent to the previous generations or to our parents or, whatever social group. But that doesn't mean that we're not accepted, right? I think in love, there's this sort of encouragement, right? That life loves you as you are. And that it's so freeing, right? We talk about, relationships never really feel freeing, right? In many relationships, it feels very like an obligation, right? That kind of hard, like I have to do this, right? I want to get sex, so I have to, pretend or whatever, or, I want to fill in the void, or, I want money, or I don't know, right? I need somebody to help me pay the bills, right? And we explore that, and we are always brought back to this more philosophical love at the end of the day. Either we're 40, 50, 80. We always come back to this more poetic, philosophical, more youthful, playful kind of love, right? Where we talk about the love that is friendship, that brings more of who you are, right, to life. It awakens you. It inspires you. Because we know at the end of the day, all we want to do is find that elegance with our soul in our physical body. And we can have all these experiences and obtain all these kinds of relationships and, been around the block a couple times. But really what makes us content and what really makes us feel like a journey completion, right, is having that graceful soul, right? That graceful soul that tribe gives us. And the tribe is prosperous, but in a way that we as, Americans or Western people don't understand. It's a prosperity of the heart, the soul, the mind, right? Where you have a prosperity in relationship with each other. And we've battled with that for so long in our world, in many places. We have battled when it comes to prosperity of fairness, right? Of prosperity and connection and bonding and friendship with each other. We're all weary of ourselves, worried about ourselves. But in love, we are feeling the grace of our soul. Because whoever this person is, or whatever energy is created with this person, you create energy with this person, higher energy. The act of creativity together is excellent. Whatever's coming through, you, them, is something that is a mutual intention, a mutual participation in allowing the sincerity to not just a little bit show while you hide most of it, but to really be charismatic about your sincerity. And that gives you this emotional release, this emotional ability to mature beyond the past, beyond the mistakes, the judgment, shame, embarrassment, I'm not good enough in the beginning. And you begin the process of you as a human being, either you're man or woman, to really come into that beauty of yourself. I'm not talking the beauty of yourself that is an expression that you really got to know, that you really allowed yourself to study, that you really unlocked and took time to really get to know and sit with it and be patient with it and sow its seeds of stellar groove throughout your mind and heart and body. And that expression is what I call this emotional fairness, where you start to bring fairness into your emotions. You start to listen, you start to pay attention, right? You start to care for your feelings instead of destroy them or deny them or try to escape from them or try to hate them and numb them. But you actually get to know your feelings. You get to know your dark feelings, right? Like a great psychologist, right? But you also get to learn what it is to relate in a friendship with yourself and with this person that enlivens your youthful imagination. Your imagination begins to thrive because of the emotional release, right? The emotional acceptance and the emotional fairness that you pioneer in everything you do. Letting go of this, that, releasing that, saying no to that, having discernment, creating boundaries, taking care of your emotions. In doing so, you find yourself in a love that not only gives you the youthful imagination of your 9-year-old self, right? When you were like creative in such a funky, soulful, edgy, indifferent, kind of unique and sort of ahead of the trend, ahead of the game, sort of doesn't really necessarily fit in type of thing, where you embrace that and you use that youthful imagination to sort of ignite this enthusiastic creativity, this passionate, sexual, sensual, spiritual creativity that is really about you being united with the earth and you learning how to be accepting of the earth and all its human conditions, and you learning how to liberate, how to share that liberation, how to create a ceremony, a sacred ritual, how to create a relationship. And I think the greatest life lesson is learning how to create a relationship with this earth that actually is prosperous, that actually gives you that emotional steadiness, that makes you feel both resilient, tolerant, both creative, and capable of being sincere regardless of how rough and tough this dense world can be. And it's really in that love of the tribe and that memory and that lover, that playful, kindred lover that encourages us to have the friendship that we've always wanted. Even when we're kids, we're like, oh, I want this best friend. We're like 4, right? And we all can have that. But it's just a matter of the people who actually have the charisma to really take care of their emotions and to be fair with their emotions and be discerning and to also really listen to their emotions and really honor their imagination and really listen and pay attention to what is really feeling, These people find that sincerity within themselves. They start to accept it, feel really good with it, feel really that they can be their self-esteem, that they can really maintain that self-esteem of a young 9-year-old person, right? Totally in the creative spark of the divine. And in that sort of fearlessness, the lover that comes through is a lover that's gonna bring us an even greater enjoyment with ourselves and now with another.